When you're a superstar, your story is everything. But what happens when the public story you tell about yourself completely clashes with the one being told about you? We're going to dive into a pretty wild case where friendship, loyalty, and intellectual property all collide, and it reveals the incredibly high-stakes game of managing a celebrity narrative. And boom, there it is, the accusation right at the heart of this whole thing. This is such a powerful claim because it immediately frames the story, not just as some professional disagreement, but as a question of major hypocrisy at the very highest level of fame. All right, so who are the key players caught up in this star-studded dispute? To really get what's going on, we gotta know who's involved, because honestly, their public personas are absolutely central to how this whole story unfolds. Okay, first up, Taylor Swift. And we're not just talking about a global superstar here. For this story, she's the ultimate advocate for artist rights, right? The crusader for owning your own work. Then we've got Blake Lively, an A-list actress and director, and, this is the crucial part, one of Taylor Swift's closest friends. That friendship is basically the engine of this entire conflict. And to complete the triangle, you have Justin Baldoni, an actor and director who got into a professional collaboration with Lively on a film project. And that's exactly where everything went sideways. So you gotta be asking yourself, how in the world does Taylor Swift, the champion for artists' rights, get tangled up in a fight about stealing intellectual property? Well, the answer isn't some rumor. It comes directly from text messages that are now part of the public record. Okay, so this is the key piece of evidence. In a text, Blake Lively says she needs to know the project is done from her perspective, another person's, and, critically, from Taylor's. That single line suggests Swift wasn't just some passive observer. It makes it sound like she was considered part of the team whose approval was needed to move forward. And this, right here, is where the story gets really complicated. Because that accusation, which seems to be backed up by that text message, appears to just fly in the face of everything Taylor Swift has publicly fought for when it comes to artists owning their work. I mean, the contrast is stark. On one side, you have the artist who famously re-recorded her entire catalog just so she could own her own work. And on the other side, you have these allegations that she was involved in a plan to take a creative project away from someone else. It creates this powerful and very, very public tension. And this is where it really gets interesting. Is this just straight-up hypocrisy, or was she simply misled by a friend? You know, her supporters suggest that Swift might have only gotten one side of the story from Lively. She could have believed she was defending a friend against someone who was painted as a monster, just acting out of loyalty without having all the facts. This is a classic move from the celebrity playbook, the loyalty defense. So we're left with two competing narratives. Was she an unknowing accomplice, just misled by her friend's version of events? Or was she a willing participant? The public evidence leaves it open to interpretation. And honestly, that ambiguity is a key part of this whole story. This entire incident shines a light on a broader and absolutely central theme in the entertainment world, the constant, high-stakes battle for narrative control. Who gets to tell the story and how it's told is everything. And this isn't just about business disputes. The celebrity playbook for controlling the narrative is most visible when a star needs to reframe years of controversial behavior. So let's look at another masterclass in this very tactic. So Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, recently offered a medical explanation for years of erratic, offensive, and anti-Semitic public statements that have really damaged his career and reputation. In a public letter, he connected his past actions that have been widely condemned, to an undiagnosed traumatic brain injury from a car accident decades ago. He's essentially asking the public to reevaluate his entire history through this new medical lens. This is a classic three-step narrative shift. You could call it the medical reframe. First, you acknowledge the behavior. Second, you introduce new mitigating information, in this case, a diagnosis. And third, you reframe everything that came before. So whether you believe it's genuine or just a calculated PR move, it's a powerful attempt to change the story from villain to victim. As these stories show, in the world of extreme fame, the narrative you control is everything. The line between supporting a friend and damaging your own carefully constructed brand is incredibly fine. And it really begs the question, when the private motives of superstars spill out into these public battles, can anyone ever truly control the story?